let me take all the struggles that I experienced as a young entrepreneur, because I didn't have anybody to show me the ropes, how to start your own business. So I really wanted to get in front of these people so they didn't have to have the same hardships that I did, and say, okay, you might be working with a limited budget, but let me show you the importance of how to structure your brand, how to structure your business so you can be successful.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Paper Jacket Podcast. In today's episode, we have Taylor Rodriguez, otherwise known as Coach Taz, joining us today to talk about his marketing consultation for video game creators. This is a fun one to get into. Can't wait for you to see it. What's up, Taylor? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so as we established during the intro, Taylor/Coach Taz. Tell us about Coach Taz for a second.
Yeah, so my entire life, I was always in the entrepreneurial space. So before I started in marketing and design work, I was a personal trainer just as a side hustle to try to pay the bills in between design work during the 2008 recession. So I was training all these classes, and I would be one of the few trainers that would actually work out with my clients, because I always, it was before I was much older and my body started breaking down. I had the recovery rate where I could keep up at a rapid pace. So I just kept working out and doing multiple classes a day. And then eventually one of my clients just pulled me to the side. She was like, you're like the Energizer Bunny, but like that's not very masculine. So like, what could we call you? I got it. Your nickname's Coach Taz, like the Looney Tune, the Tasmanian Devil. And I was like, okay, I like it. And then the moment she said that, the rest of the class picked up on it. And then it's been a thing for 17 years now. So, and it's just carried me through to every company.
There you go. All right. Well, I mean, I know you've done a lot of stuff. I mean, what we're talking mainly around content marketing today and stuff like that, because you've done a lot of it with several businesses you've kind of ventured in. You're a very skillful guy. So talk to our audience about everything you do, the type of things that you're involved in, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so nowadays, you have to imagine I'm taking a 20-year-old journey and I'm putting it all together in a box for you. But long story short, I always had this entrepreneurial spirit, and it led me through owning my own fitness business, which I ran for over 12 years. Was very successful, but after a while, one thing that you'll pick up on me is like I'm a very mission-driven person. If there's not a higher purpose for me to do something, I'm not going to be fulfilled to do it just for a day job. Mm-hmm. I don't do things simply for the paycheck. So the moment I checked every accomplishment that I wanted to in the fitness space, I started to notice that I was getting very complacent and it was time to shift. And all the while doing that, I always did marketing and design work on the side because that was what my degree was in. So after that, I was like, okay, well, maybe I can be a little successful in the marketing space. So that led me to start my own freelancing business, where I just started doing a lot of design consulting, marketing consulting for a lot of service-based businesses. And then eventually, after several years, that led me into the video game space, which at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of marketers doing specifically video game design marketing on how to market your product, especially in the vast competitive landscape there is of video game releases. So my job became like, how do I take a very boutique indie studio that doesn't have a lot of marketing dollars, and how can I present their brand to compete with the Maddens of the world, the Halos, the Apex Legends of the world? And that's really how my own personal brand started to take off within the last 5 or so years.
So when it came to a lot of the consultation that you did with the design work and stuff like that, what was a very common problem you're helping solve for them in those situations?
A very common problem that I started to notice was you would have to understand from the viewpoint of a small, introverted indie game developer. It is very similar in the service-based businesses where you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of them are not formally trained in the world of marketing and brand design. But with the video game space, game developers are so introverted, and they come from these big corporate facilities where they typically start out as interns at the larger studios, the Riot Gaming, the EAs, the Ubisofts of the world, and they have these managers that sort of hold their hand and show them what to do through that internship so they can start gaining their own knowledge and experience in that video game space. But after a while, one thing that I've noticed with all the video game developers, eventually you want to branch out and just see if could you do it on your own? Like, can you take up that challenge? Because when you're within that corporate space, you know, you're put inside of creative box. And as a lot of creatives know, they experience, you know, you don't like to be put in that box. If you have ideas, you want to express them to the world. So there's this pool of game developers that eventually want to start their own thing, but they don't know the first thing there is about how to start up a business, how to simply start up an LLC, you know, get the insurance necessary, how to market their brand. All they know is, let me just develop a game and just hope that some big influencer picks it up, and then overnight they become a multimillionaire.
Right.
And that is the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
So one thing that I became very passionate about was, let me take all the struggles that I experienced as a young entrepreneur, because I didn't have anybody to show me the ropes, how to start your own business. So I really wanted to get in front of these people so they didn't have to have the same hardships that I did, and say, okay, you might be working with a limited budget, but let me show you the importance of how to structure your brand, how to structure your business so you can be successful. And maybe you don't become a multimillionaire. Maybe your first IP doesn't have the success, the worldwide success that you really want. But maybe by your third title, maybe by your fourth title, then you start to gain some momentum and some traction. Your name starts to get out there and you have a little bit more notoriety and respect in the marketplace. So then when you launch that fourth IP, you're a little bit more stable and you can build this long-term career, as opposed to just hoping on a wish and a prayer that that one IP really has the success that you want it to do, so you can have the financial stability necessary to take care of yourself, your family, your contractors, and to pay the light bill for your studio.
Sure. So what's the process that you kind of help walk them through to as they release these IPs?
So the typical process, everything starts out with a consultation call, and just to get to know their why, get to know their goals. Why do they want to venture out on their own? Because starting your own business is not for everybody. And, you know, bless the heart of a lot of creators, like everybody wants to do their own thing and nobody wants to feel like they're put inside of a box. But you have to realize, if you're going to release a product to the world, you've become a businessman, you've become a businesswoman. You have to know the right things to do to protect yourself, protect your contractors, protect your family. It's not just you make a beautiful creative game or a product and then release it to the world and just you're going to be successful. It doesn't work like that. So I tell people, I show them the ins and outs of what it takes to be an entrepreneur and to start your own business. And I show them the highs and lows, and I share my own personal testimony as well as the testimony of other colleagues that I've had in the past. And just make sure that their heart and their mind is in the right place before they start the process of developing this game. Because video game development nowadays, you may be developing a video game for 3 to 5 years, if not longer.
Yeah.
And that requires a massive budget to be able to put into production. You know, there's pre-production involved, there's post-production, there's marketing. So the video game space, as competitive as it is, people have to be realistic with what the expectations are. So I sort of walk them through that process very gently but lovingly and sternly, just so they're not caught off guard, because the last thing they want to do is release something, you know, you have a copyright infringement and now you have a lawsuit against you and your family. So I always want to talk about all those things before we start talking about marketing roadmaps and brand strategy and concept design and all that stuff.
So I'm meaning this in the nicest way possible. You sort of kill their dream in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you're giving. It's true though. Like, it's better that you give realistic expectations up front, because killing the dream much later hurts much more.
Right.
You know, in that way. And I don't mean killing the dream, right? It's simply making sure this is the right step forward for them as a developer, as a creative. Is like, there's creative development and then there's entrepreneurship.
Right.
Are you sure you want to merge the two? Let me explain. You know, so that's good that you do.
Right.
That.
And you know, by no means like, is it my dream or passion to destroy others' hopes and dreams?
Of course not.
The reason I got into this was because I had that entrepreneurial spirit. I was a creative that was put inside of a box. I worked for a lot of service-based businesses. I had dreams of things that I wanted to create. I wasn't allowed to create them because they wouldn't fit the brand of the company that I worked for. So I ventured out. And through venturing out, I didn't have, bless the heart of my parents. They did the best that they could, but I wasn't rich growing up. They weren't very financially educated. They didn't own their own business. So I really had to seek out a lot of information when I started out on my own personal journey, which caused a lot of failures, a lot of hardships. So my heart was in the place where I just genuinely wanted to help people. So if you want to create this awesome creative project, that's awesome. I'm here for you and I'll help you in whatever way that I can, but I'm going to show you what the process actually looks like so you don't get caught with your tail in between your legs, because worst case scenario, you don't want to be caught in a situation where you just spent all of your life savings trying to create this amazing product, and then you sell 500 units, you sell 1,000 units, and then now your family's hungry. That is a nightmare scenario, and that's the picture that I paint. So, I will guide my clients through the process, but I'm also very realistic. And one little piece of feedback that I've gotten throughout the years is my clients specifically, they're really receptive of that and they're appreciative of that. It's hard to hear, but I think that's made me different in the space, and that's why I've been able to do this specifically in video games for the past 5 years, because people know that they can trust me because I'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And that's a very trustworthy partner to have by your side.
Yeah. Now, assuming everything you've said doesn't scare them, they're ready for the risk, they're ready for all the things in front of them, how do you help them then market their product or their brand?
Yeah, so everything starts with the end game involved. So they typically have their idea for a project. Typically, by the time they talk to me, they're already well into development because this has been a passion project they've had for years that they've done as a side hustle. So they're probably within about a year or two of launching their title. So the gears are starting to turn when it comes to their marketing strategy, and they have to do something. So we'll come up with a release date that is a fitted date where it's not filled with a whole bunch of competitors, which is a problem today just because on average, 41 to 43 games are released every single day around the world. So you're dropping your title against at least 39 other people on average. So you have to pick the release date, which doesn't have a lot of AAA blockbusters, your Halos, your Grand Theft Autos, whatever big title that you can name. Try to go into a quiet season, and then you work backwards from about one year to 1.5 years. And then we start to work on what's your personal brand, what's your messaging, what's the hook of your game that makes you different than every other game. Because everybody will say I have an RPG game, but it's different because of XYZ combat component. Well, with all due respect, there's 10 million RPGs in the world. We've seen everything nowadays. Nothing is really new besides the name of characters and the way you design them.
Yeah.
So what's that unique hook that people have never seen? Maybe it's a blend of 2 or 3 different unique games that come together, and then now that's the thing that sets you apart from every other RPG in the space. And then that's what you market around. You don't call yourself the next Madden, the next Halo. You call yourself the next Halo mixed with Final Fantasy.
So are you someone coming up with some of the copywriting for this, or are you helping show them why copywriting is important and you help them find a copywriter for things like that?
Yeah, more than likely I'm the guide. I'm the one that will show them the beginning steps of, okay, what's the initial hook? And then here's the marketing roadmap. These are the check boxes that you have to hit to make sure that you remain in compliance. And then you're also getting exposed to as many people as humanly possible.
Right. Now, you talked about how you've been a graphic designer, you've been a creative, you've been a fitness coach. talk to me how you got into video games.
Yes. My journey is a unique one. Yeah. So I get bored very easily. So like you said, I started out in the fitness space, moved on to marketing and design because that was what my degree was in. It just felt natural. Started working out at a newspaper company and a whole bunch of different service-based businesses. Fast forward 13 years, we're 2020 in the time of COVID, everybody's home, everybody's isolated. And during that time, I ended up having lunch with one of my former bosses who was a good mentor of mine. And I am one of those individuals that I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like if I'm upset about something, you're going to know. I can't hide it. I don't have a very good poker face. So we're having lunch together and he just looks over to me and he knows I'm discontent about something. And he looked over at me, he was just like, all right, what's the matter? And, you know, COVID allowed all of us that space to really think internally about things. What's our future look like? And at that time, once again, I'm a mission-driven person. I just went 13 plus years in the marketing design space. At this time, I've done consulting for multi-million-dollar organizations. I've had my name on some of the biggest brands in Central Florida. I've been very blessed to have these opportunities, but realistically, I never saw myself growing up that corporate ladder, becoming a CEO of a Disney or anything like that. So I was like, all right, what's next? Like, I'm not comfortable just going into a studio designing more graphics or designing another website or developing another marketing roadmap. So what's next? And he said, Taz, listen, if there's anything I know about you, you're very driven. But what is one thing, if you're on your deathbed today, what's the one thing you would regret never pursuing? And I was like, oh, that's easy. I want my name in the credits of a video game. Because I always had the passion ever since my parents bought me a Sega Genesis and I played Sonic and Knuckles for the very first time. I've been addicted to video games ever since. And I wanted my name in the credits of a video game. That's all I wanted. And he said, okay, that's what you need to do. You've accomplished what you've done in the service business space. You need to pivot. You need to go. And I was like, okay, fine. So it was literally that day I go home. I'm like, I'm transitioning my personal brand from this guy that helps veterinarians and newspaper companies to a consultant within the video game space. And that's it. And then it's been like that for the last 5 years.
That's really cool, man. I mean, it shows a really neat way of following your passion in a practical way, which is something that I've cared a lot about lately myself. Of like, okay, well, you know, everyone's like, do what you love, right? I think you've probably felt this too. It's like turning my hobby into work, and there's a difference between, you know, hobby and passion in that situation and stuff like that. So it's cool that you're like, look, I'm going to go after things I love, but I'm going to have a practical passion behind it. I'm not going to go out and all of a sudden try to make a video game. I'm going to use my talents in a space that I care about. Right. And that's really neat to do that.
Right. And that was initially, that was one of my failures in the beginning, because when I was sitting at my dining room table and said I was going to transition to video games, I was thinking very inside the box. Like, okay, I'm going to do the things that I did for service-based businesses. You know, create marketing roadmaps, build websites, do UI, UX, do graphic design, do the marketing posters for all the video games. Oh, I could do that. Not realizing the video game space is so much different than your service that you do in a veterinarian clinic. Polar opposite demos, polar opposite marketing strategies. You don't design the same things. So that demand was not present in the video game space. So when I initially went in, it was met with a lot of like, who's this guy? Like, why should we care about him? Yeah, he has 13 plus years of marketing and design, but he's nobody. So I had to pull back for a couple of weeks and really think like, okay, what is a practical thing that I can do to help these people? Like, okay, well, who do I want to help? That's step one. And once again, I've never been that super corporate guy. I've worked in the corporate space, working for those 8-9 figure companies. My passion wasn't there, you know, because once again, you're going inside of a box. I want to be free. I always found my passion was working for the mom and pops, the solo developers, the people working with limited budgets. As challenging as that is, I felt like I could have that intimate relationship with somebody because I want to have that relationship with my clients. I want to have those genuine friendships. I don't want to work for somebody and it feel transactional. So I figured out who I wanted to work for, which was, the solo developers, the smaller teams, the indie developers. And then it was like, okay, what are they struggling with? Well, they don't know business. They have no idea how to find investments. They have no idea how to copyright things or even start an LLC. Okay, I know how to do all these things because I did it. And then, they don't know how to create a marketing roadmap 1 year out from the release date. I know how to do that. Like, I know how to gain people's attention online. All right, I'll do that. And I started to restructure my business around, okay, it's not so much about graphic design, UI, UX design. Now it's about marketing roadmaps and consultancy. And that's what people really started to reach out for me for.
Yeah. Well, how can someone reach out to you if they're trying to launch a video game for your target audience?
Yeah, so I'm mainly found on LinkedIn or through my website, which is 𝗧𝘆𝗹CE.com, which stands for Ember Forge Florida. So 𝗧𝘆𝗹CE.com, or just find me on LinkedIn, look up Coach Taz or Taylor Rodriguez. You'll find me there. But that's my two main lines of communication.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you, Coach Taz, for joining us today on our podcast, telling our audience about what you do and the passions that you have gone after. And I do believe you have followed a passion that you're going to do great in. You've gained all these skills over a period of time to really focus in on these guys and help. And I'm looking forward to the day you send me a screenshot of like, there's my credit.
Well, thank you so much. And I will say I'm humbled to be here. I've been following along with Paper Jacket for a while. I love the work that you guys do. So just keep up the phenomenal work.
Thanks, man.